good stretch here in January, Simmer, at home here. Couple of things that stand out to you that you'd like to see. Is there a chance that, complacency might fall into place here somewhere in January when you see still Boston 10 points ahead in the standings?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how you felt playing, Nick, but I always thought these are kind of difficult times, the sort of January blues and blahs, and you come out of Christmas, that can be exciting with family and, exciting games, and it's just a different time. You get into that early to mid-January, early February, and then you get the All-Star break. I think this always is a tough time. I'm not sure if it's better to be at home or the road. I think depends an awful lot on how you're playing and how your confidence level of your team is. As you know, you get on a homestand and maybe your game slips a little bit, that could be further damaging. I know you always say, it's an advantage to be at home, but man, if your power play goes south, you know how tough it is with the fans when your power play's not going, or when all of a sudden maybe the goaltenders struggle a little bit. Being at home isn't all that safe haven. So I think it is a critical time, and I really felt that New Year's Eve game was a very, very important one for them on the heels of, losing again against Arizona. That seems to have their number. If nothing else, guys, with the home stand that you mentioned coming, I thought it was a really important game for them to play a solid defensive effort against the Cup champs, to have the lead going into the third. And I think we talked about it during the game. Basically played, about as much as a four-line game as you possibly can, and everybody would have felt a big part of that win. And you hope that transfers here into game one as you start the new year.
Do you think there's any sort of scenarios for them ahead where the goaltending plan isn't just to take turns with the two guys? Could one guy take the reins? Could a guy play poorly enough to get traded? Are there scenarios where it's not just these two? Your turn, my turn?
Yeah, I can't really see the trade one, Justin, just because, man, look around. There's a few teams that probably do need some help, and that might be needing to look to a goaltender. So you can never say never. But no, I think that they've got to be, for the most part, pretty happy with the way the tandem, once they got healthy, has worked. I thought Samsonov is kind of, not just his numbers in the last couple of games, but just his style and some of the little mistakes or goals that have trickled through. And so I wasn't totally shocked that Murray got another one. I wouldn't be totally shocked, if he had got another one tonight. He's had a couple of times where Murray's played three straight. So I think you might see one goalie get as much as maybe four in a row, but I can't see with all the games and, the rhythm of how the games go that, one guy is going to be 6, 7, 8 in a row. I do think it'll probably be a one-off for a few times and then 2 or 3 in a row. And then if one guy proves that maybe he's a little more on top, then I think that's when you got to start making the decision come playoff time. Is this Murray's net or is it Samsonov's net? Because the last thing you want as a goaltender, as a coach, is come playoff time in those big swing games when, maybe your goaltender played well, but you lost again and you're facing elimination. The last thing a coach wants to have is, oh God, who am I going to play tonight? That you just second guess yourself all the time. I find when you're in that scenario.
Honestly, I think that's where it's headed. Simmer.
Yeah.
This is the way it feels to me right now, because I'm just watching the two teams that you need to focus on with the mentality of we're going nowhere unless we get by these two teams, have bona fide right now, number one, no questions asked goaltenders in Ullmark and Vasilevsky. And this is shaping up to game one in the playoffs where I'm 65% sure that Matt Murray's the number one goalie until we see how this goes.